is guess what? You're going to see an occult explosion across the planet. And it clearly says there that people will be, their hearts are so hard. And this is in the trumpet judgments. You got the seals, the trumpets, and then the bowls at the very end. And so here you are in the trumpets now. And you'd think that all the judgments that passed, as horrific as they are, they would get people's attention, that they would get right with God. And it says there, nope, they still, even in light of all that, would not repent, and it specifically calls out their behavior. And one of them was they will not stop worshiping demons. Now think about that. It specifically says it there. And then, of course, it gets into pharmakeia, magic arts, and having been there, done that, wish I wouldn't bought the t-shirt. Drugs are a huge proponent of the occult and things of that nature, because that's one of the quickest ways that they rely upon getting you to connect with the demons and things of that nature. But it says they're also their sexual immorality, which is huge in the occult as well, including the LGBT alphabet gang thing, and then also their thefts and all this stuff. So they refuse to repent of that. So I didn't say it, God did. When you here's a sign you're getting close. Believe it or not, you're going to see an occult explosion all over the planet. I think and so I'm not shocked by that, because again, you read the Bible, God tells us in advance what's coming. What I think was more concerning to me was seeing how much the occult had come into the church. Because here's what's going on, guys. It isn't just people who probably are demon possessed coming into the church, trying to shoot people and do all this stuff. I'll give you that. That's old hat. They're doing it in the world, and now they're trying to come into the church. But what's happening is occult practices are now being relabeled with Christianese and being practiced in the church as the new movement of God. This is the Spirit of God, and it's not the Spirit of God. It's completely demonic. That's what's alarming to me.
Now, Billy, can you give us just a few examples of that so that people understand what you mean when you say that occult practices have come into the church?
Yeah. I'll give you a case in point. I'll just give you, I didn't plan on it being this long, but it came out this, and by the way, it just happened to come out this way. We did 66-week studies, and it came out on 6 books on the occult. We did 20 weeks on witchcraft, 16 weeks on Satanism, 30 weeks on voodoo, vampires, and the rise of demon worship, which kind of broke down into the other subcategories with like voodoo and vampirism, but also druidism, shamanism, all that stuff. And what happens is when you go through the practices there, and the reason why we talk about it, people say, I don't want to hear about that. Well, hello, God, Old and New Testament, deals with all kinds of occult related issues. And so therefore, if you're teaching the whole counsel of God, I'm not saying you got to teach on it every week, but you got to hit it sometime. And so we deal with it because it's a biblical basis. But the reality is most people, dare I say even Christians, have no clue about the occult, even though the Bible is replete with occult activity. The Bible is a supernatural book, and it isn't just the angels of God doing supernatural things. Oh, people like hearing about that stuff. It's the bad guys, the fallen angels doing bad things, and Satan. Who's Satan? He's a fallen angel himself, and he's out there seeking whom he may devour. This is not a joke. That's why Paul says in Ephesians 6, hey, listen, not all of our battles are just against flesh and blood. It's not always just natural. They're supernatural. But what happens is they're so ill-equipped on this biblically, and they don't know anything about the practices and the beliefs and the behavior of any of these occults, that it's allowed them to have free reign to come into the church. Right? Again, I'll give you a case in point. This is just an easy one to demonstrate. Voodoo, right? The whole premise of voodoo, this is the whole premise, right? The whole premise is, watch this, you got 2 options here. You could use drugs, which could be alcohol or other drugs, to get you to connect and listen, be possessed by the spirits, so they can give you supernatural power, a supernatural word for people, and or supernatural abilities, including a supposed supernatural healing.
Wow.
Or what they do, and this is just common voodoo practice, or what they do, if they don't use the drugs, watch this, they use music that is heavy duty on drums, heavy duty on repetition, and dancing. And what it is the voodoo practitioner, they will be engaged in this repetitive, ongoing music and movement and dance, and then it takes about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it kicks in. And what happens is that's another way to get you into an altered state of consciousness. Why? Because the stated goal is they want to be possessed by a spirit. They can call it an ancestor or a spirit of the tree of this or that or whatever. It's a demon. But they admit the whole premise of voodoo is to engage in these activities to be possessed by a demon, supposedly for other people's good.
Yeah.
Now, what if I took the exact same practice? You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And I didn't call it a demon because, well, of course, we're not going to do that in the church. But what if I use repetitive music and repetitive dancing? And the whole premise was after an extended period of time, I invited a spirit to come and supposedly provide the power for healing or a new word or a new prophecy or revelation for people. When I have everything that I need right here, by the way, okay, if I want to understand God's will in the future. But what am I describing? They don't call it the spirit of voodoo. Of course, they slap Christianese. It's the spirit of God. God spoke to me to tell you, and this is why I was shaking and rattling on the floor. No, it's old-fashioned voodoo. Guys, I'm telling you, that's just one of the many ways that the occult has come in. The church is ill-equipped. Satan is having a heyday. The church is not just messed up with apostasy. It's messed up with occult activity.